published 7:04 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 14th of May 2018, updated 11:27 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 14th of May 2018. The Premier League season has drawn to an end and it's time to say goodbye to Stoke, West Brom and Swansea as the relegated trio prepare for life in the second tier. All three clubs endured miserable top-flight campaigns, churning through 7 managers between them as they hurtled towards the Championship, but despite abject seasons for the teams, some players still managed to stand out in the scrap for survival. Here's Sportsmail's best 11 made up from Stoke, West Brom and Swansea players as the Premier League vultures begin to circle. Swansea were the last of the Premier League sides to have the relegation confirmed. The tears as he saluted the home supporters at the final whistle of the defeat by Crystal Palace said it all. Jack Butland knew he'd played his last game for Stoke. Butland is one of a number of players expected to leave the Bet365 stadium as the England goalkeeper, who is contention to start at the World Cup, looks to stay in the top flight. Premier League new boys Wolves are lining up a £35 million bid. Despite missing 3 games through injury, Butland made 137 saves, the second most in the league, with an impressive save ratio of 70% as he did all he could to prevent the Potters' relegation. Jack Butland is tearful at the end of Stoke's loss to Crystal Palace, which confirmed relegation. Hegazi announced himself to the Premier League with a goal on his debut as West Brom began the season with 2 straight victories, but while West Brom failed to win a game for the rest of the calendar year, their towering centre-back remained relatively consistent throughout, making 60 interceptions in the thick of some desperate rearguard action. Hegazi's first season in England will have done his reputation wonders, and a positive World Cup with Egypt should drive his price up even further. Ahmed Hegazi launches into a challenge against Paul Pogba in the 1-0 victory at Old Trafford. Johnny Evans' £3 million relegation release clause is set to spark off one of the biggest transfer scrambles in Premier League history this summer. The 30-year-old endured an underwhelming season at the Hawthorns in which he was involved in West Brom's embarrassing Taxigate incident in Barcelona and missed the mini-revival under Darren Moore through injury, but despite his disappointing 2017-18, Evans was a target for both Manchester City and Arsenal in the last 2 transfer windows and will have no shortage of suitors yet again due to his reputation and availability at a knockdown price. Johnny Evans' £3 million relegation release clause will see him spark a major transfer scramble. Alfie Mawson's stock continued to rise in South Wales this season and the 24-year-old earned his first call-up to the England squad to highlight his remarkable progress. While mistakes still need to be ironed out of his game, Mawson showed his maturity with some intelligent performances at the heart of the Swans' defence and featured in every minute of every Swansea game this season. Mawson arrived at the Liberty from Barnsley, where another England centre-back John Stones began realising his potential. Another Premier League side is certain to take a punt on him, developing in the same vein as the Manchester City's star. Centre-back Alfie Mawson featured in every minute of every game for Swansea this season, probably the most talented player to get relegated from the top flight this season. Ex-Bayern Munich and Inter Milan winger Xherdan Shaqiri's issue has always been about maintaining consistency. Shaqiri was Stoke's most impressive outfield player again this season and was involved in 43% of the Potters' goals this season, scoring 8 himself. The 26-year-old expressed his frustration at Stoke's situation and hit out at the lack of ambition shown by the club in March. With a £12 million release clause, the stocky Shaqiri will attract suitors across Europe based on his pedigree alone. Xherdan Shaqiri seemingly always manages a couple of stunning goals a season at Stoke. Van Butland criticised Stoke's disastrous recruitment policy earlier this month. He singled out Badou Ndiaye as an Exception to the rule, the midfielder has caught the eye at the Bet365 with some dynamic displays since his £14 million arrival from Galatasaray on January deadline day. Ndiaye slotted into the team instantly and scored twice in Stoke's final 4 matches in their ultimately unsuccessful battle against the drop. His 5-month spell in England should be enough to secure interest from another top-flight side. Ndiaye has impressed in his 5 months in England since arriving at Stoke in January. Another of West Brom's taxi-nabbing quartet, Jake Livermore, experienced a tough season in the Baggies' midfield and was even dropped briefly by former manager Alan Pardew towards the end of his reign, but under Moore, the 28-year-old's position was restored and he played a key role in the West Brom's remarkable run of form under the caretaker boss, scoring the stoppage-time winner against his former club Tottenham. Livermore's reputation has remained intact in the eyes of Gareth Southgate, who has stuck by the midfielder by continuing to select him for England in the face of widespread media criticism. Another relegated baggy set for Russia, Jake Livermore has maintained his place in Gareth Southgate's England squad this campaign. Leroy Ver is another relegated player capable of producing brilliant performances on his day, but who struggles mightily for consistency. The Holland midfielder was pivotal to making the Swans tick with his driving runs and incisive passing that provided hope in the battle for survival. Notably, he was outstanding in the home win over Arsenal. Just as he was discovering some form under new manager Carlos Carvalhal, he was struck down by a season-ending injury. With a fit Ver, Swansea might have extended their stay in the Premier League, but instead the 2017-18 campaign is the 3rd time he's gone down after previous relegations with Norwich and QPR. Leroy Ver was outstanding in Swansea's win over Arsenal, but his season was ended by injury. Eric Peters has been one of Stoke's most consistent performers on the left side of defence, either at full-back or wing-back, since joining 5 seasons ago. The Dutch international landed himself in hot water with Stoke after attending a nightclub on the eve of a crucial game against Everton. But the 29-year-old slotted back into the team and impressed in the Potters' run-in under Paul Lambert, even keeping Mohamed Salah relatively quiet during a man-of-the-match display in Stoke's goalless draw with Liverpool. Eric Peters has impressed for Stoke at both full-back and wing-back in the relegation season Jay Rodriguez managed. 7 goals this season, 23% of the Baggies' total, despite often being deployed out wide or as a number 10 behind Salomon Rondon. His haul included arguably the most crucial goal of the entire season, the late winner at Old Trafford, which handed Manchester City the Premier League title. With injury troubles behind the ex-Southampton striker, Rodriguez's reputation will have survived relatively unscathed and he should stay in the top flight next year. Jay Rodriguez scored West Brom's winner at Old Trafford in a shock 1-0 win for the Baggies. With a quarter of his side's goals this season, it's safe to say the Swans would have been relegated earlier without striker Jordan Ayew's contributions. After wresting his place back from on loan Tammy Abraham, Ayew proved himself capable of making the most of relatively non-existent service up front for Swansea with 7 Premier League strikes. He works hard for his team too, with 81 tackles this campaign, the most of any attacking player in the Premier League. The 26-year-old remains a flawed forward who can frustrate with his poor decision-making. But Jordan, along with brother Andre, has offered enough to be handed an escape route by another of the Premier League strugglers looking for firepower. Jordan Ayew scored 7 times for Swansea, a quarter of the Premier League goals.